I feel really, really good today. How do you feel? Three positions. Just before satsang began, I began having flashbacks of satsangs with Robert over the years in the various places we meet. We'd have satsang in somebody's house for maybe a year, 2 years, and then we'd be whisked off to a new place because the person who was hosting us didn't want Robert coming around to the house anymore. Or me. Maybe it was me. But they didn't mention me. They mentioned Robert as the center of their ire. Robert was an extremely unusual person. He was 69 when he died. He had Parkinson's and probably several other kinds of motor and mental disorders, not mental really in the classic sense. But in satsang, I at least felt the power of his presence and of his words. And wherever we were and had satsang, the person had animals, usually a dog, but sometimes cats. And one of the later places that we had went to satsang, the host, the woman, had an enormous dog. What do they call those big dogs, Krima?
I'm not sure which.
What's
I
the
can't
biggest
remember.
kind? Great Dane.
Oh, Great Dane, yeah, probably.
This Great Dane was always there during satsang.
Mm-hmm.
When satsang started, he always sat near the back of the room, not too far away from his human owner. And when the time came to have darshan with Robert, where you go up to the Guru one by one, receive his blessings, maybe pass a word or two. Well, at her house, this Great Dane got in the same darshan line as the people. And one by one, he'd get closer and closer to Robert. And if it was just unbelievable, because when his time came, he went up and greeted Robert. And Robert made fuss over him, rubbed his head, etc. But I've never before seen a dog, not only in the same house that we had satsang, but who actually attended satsang. And on top of that, went to darshan to receive private teachings from Robert. Put that one in your bonnet and cook on it for a while. What that means, it's so unusual. Today, getting prepared for satsang at this new time. When I looked around inside me, in many ways it was like usual, because I can more or less detect many of the things that are going on inside of my body and visualize it, turn it into something that can be conveyed. But I feel like a giant monolith of some sort who happens to have arms and legs, but is totally empty inside of anything. Anything like conventionally going on in a person's mind. Today was like more and more of what's been going on with me for the last 5 or 6 years. My body feels like it's frozen. But when I turn my vision to the inside and look around, and I see the lights from around penetrating my skin of my eyes, it gives it a color, but there are also images. And the images are of Robert and our old Satsangs. Satsang is something special for me. I went to my first satsang was at Philip Keplow's ashram in New York, Zen. Many of the people were very noisy when they were sitting and breathing hard, like doing some sort of pranayama, like and others were doing a little groaning as if they were lifting a 500-pound weight. So it's kind of distracting. But most other places, satsang isn't like that. Satsang tends to be quiet. You tend to be inside yourself, feeling what's going on, and feeling your own emptiness, and feeling how that emptiness interacts with your body and with the external world. You're aware of all of it. You're aware of all of your body parts from the inside. Imagine with your fingers Instead of seeing them, you feel them and you know what they look like. Well, that's not so unusual. Most people can do that. But ordinary conversation generally ends. And if one truly looks at oneself and does so over a period of time, really a new self becomes available to you, to your mind to play with. My body feels rigid, but not in any kind of negative way. It's rigid enough to allow me to keep sitting upright and not fall over. It's also very quiet. And I can feel my gut, my chest, my lungs, my throat where the air passes through, my face, my nose, my legs. And on the inside of me, my whole body appears to be lighted by the light of consciousness within. It's different than looking at anything in the external world with human eyes. It's just a kind of global awareness without form. You're there existing as a kind of cloud consciousness, part of which is in your body and the remainder in the world around you. My cat just growled for some reason or another. Maybe he didn't like what I said. But as I sit here now, here he is. Hi, Shakti. Come on up. But as I sit here now, I hear two cats yelling at each other.
Yeah, about to wrestle.
No, that's all right. Let them do it.
Yeah.
But I feel wonderful. It's not a kind of even happiness. It's a more physical thing. My whole body feels like it's radiating happiness. Shaki apparently is not picking it up too well. His happiness radar is off. But I feel so big in a form, like I'm as big as a mountain, even though I can see around me that I'm smaller than the TV set. And I'm like this a lot, and it started about 6 years ago. And there was a kind of energy conversion going on inside of my body, with my body's internal energies and feelings. And it manifests as this kind of rigidity which allows me to go into meditation almost instantly as soon as I get seated and wait for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then I sink inside. And I have 3 bodies. The one body is the external body, which I'm feeling. The second body is the feeling of my body from the inside as a totality. And the third body is me, the sense of me, which doesn't even extend all over my body, but it's there. I don't know, I probably shouldn't call it a body, but the observer. And all the world is very still when this goes on and when I'm sitting in meditation. But it hasn't always been the case. Meditation is extraordinarily valuable to spiritual growth. But the experiences tend to be very gently incremental. There's very few of the Big Bang kind of explosions that convert your life so that your pee becomes drinkable to thousands of people so that they can go to heaven or wherever they go and they drink guru urine, which is some of Muktananda's students did that. So I hear. But what I feel more than that is a sense of completeness and of not wanting anything, because I have everything that I want. I have this body, which right now feels pretty damn good. And in the inside of me, I feel the insides of my body. And sometimes of currents, like electrical currents, they go around inside. And sometimes it's less subtle than electrical currents. It would be more like an internal movement of an organ or something like that. It's strange. I'm looking at a television set. We have a big 75-inch TV screen, and it's off now. And I saw a man on a bicycle riding across this, and I was wondering, what the fuck? Then I realized that's a reflection of what's going on outside. That's projected onto the screen, which is not lit up because it's not turned on. So I have a little enlightenment experience here. It's a joke. I want to know, usually people who give satsangs ask right away if there are any questions that people want answered, ones that are meaningful to them or maybe somebody else they know. Could be about your practice. It could be about the structure of your own experience. It could be about God. It could be about Yogananda and could be about Muktananda and my experiences with these teachers too. So at any time, if you feel like asking, ask. In the meantime, please join me in this just exquisite bliss that I feel now, that goes all the way through me. It penetrates all my body, surrounds me in this room with peace and quiet. And outside too, it seems to be quiet and peaceful, at least now, except for that man on the bicycle riding on my TV screen. Are there any questions? Okay, no questions.
Yeah, it's Michael T.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I decided whether to ask you a question or not because I'm always asking questions. So I was waiting if anybody else had some first. Question about practice. When I tune myself during the day to the stars, to the earth, to things of nature, it's much easier for me to meditate. And for example, I have great meditations in regards to when I wake up in the morning, and I can, even when I sleep, I feel like, even in deep sleep, I feel a presence. And that I could, it's like waking consciousness is like a big gap between the emptiness and getting to that state of consciousness to where you're awake. It's sort of like being on a boat, and I see through the horizon a little life force energy, sort of like a car starts as you hit the ignition, and then you're up. So I'm able to develop or awareness to where it's happening, where I see that, and then I'll go to meditate, and then I'll slowly watch the thoughts come in from consciousness, and if I just watch them and let them do what they do, and not either not force them or make them go away, I can end up separating energy, stillness, consciousness, and the void. And it's tremendous because it's, you go perfectly into like infinity or stillness. And problem is when I is the stuff that goes on in the mundane world, there's, it seems like any talent that one has sort of messes that whole process up, meaning there's a couple of things I like to do at life, and I do pretty well at them. And sometimes I run away with doing that, and I get involved very mentally and deeply into these things that I do. And it seems as though when I get into that mode, it's very difficult for me to get out of, and it makes that being in tune to being into meditation and spiritual thought a very difficult thing. So in other words, I'm really high later, I'm really cold because I'm performing things in the mundane life that I enjoy doing. And it almost seems like I that it's hard to disengage. It seems like the universe knows when you're totally engaged into the spiritual mode, and then it knows it's you're cheating it when you engage in the either studies or enjoyment things that you pursue in life. And it's for me, and I don't know if it's for everybody else, but it's hard for me. I could do it, but it takes me like days to like retune myself like a guitar. I have to tell myself, okay, wait a minute. I'm getting too much into these things that I do pretty well in life, and it's also making a living. If you it, and I sort of have to lose the zest in these endeavors and things for me to go back to get inside the meditative mode. And I guess my question to you is to, I mean, a strike, how do you strike a balance and is there such thing as striking a balance? Because it seems to me that even when I try to strike a balance, unless I kind of put everything, make it my secondary things, I can't meditate to the level that I can unless I just drop everything. Meaning, in a pie chart, meditation and spiritual living for me has to be 80% of my pie chart, and everything else in life would be maybe to go to places, make a living should be 20% in where my brain could be lit up doing. So when I exceed that 20% and the needle starts going to 30, 40, 50, and then I'm enjoying and getting into these other things, it, my ability to get into that zone is severely limited. And I'm just wanting to ask you, is it just a matter of saying, hey, I've got to make the decision and throw all this other stuff out in life or treat it with a grain of salt? But the problem is I'm
Sorry
not,
to questions into two sentences. So you covered such a vast range of things. I don't know what your question is.
so the question is that, well, I won't be as good at doing these other things that I like to do in the mundane world if I only set it to 20%. So
If
do I just have to learn how to give it up in order to be very good at meditation?
no, I'm still not understanding what you're asking. Can
Okay, put it in a nutshell to make it more understandable. You basically have to say, fuck all this stuff that I'm good at life. I'm going to put it all besides me, and I'm just going to be a spiritual meditator, and that's it. I mean, is that the final level?
well, it's similar to what happens, but it's the more you meditate, the better it gets. But you go through ups and downs. Sometimes you may even quit meditating for a year or so. But there is a constant process going on inside of you that's leading to your number one position, which is being the observer of everything. Not the creator of it, but the observer of it. So there's another thing that happens that ties it together. You become aware of the inner body, which is feeling and perceiving the body from the inside. So that in a sense, when you're there, you're in a big zendo with a lot of peace and quiet. The thing is, I wouldn't worry about it, although it's a proper question to ask. But I think all that you really have to do is not rush it, but let it take you along at its pace, the awakening pace that's right for you. And it's sort of make those kinds of decisions for you before you can, it's in the conscious mind, because the conscious mind isn't all that bright. it gets hung up in words and concepts and philosophy and so forth, and the direct experience aspect is kind of shallow when you do the meditation. But just be aware of these things happening to you and enjoy them when they do happen. And if they are unenjoyable, just try to sneak out a smile anyway. Just about how fucked up they made you feel today, the processes that be. Over time, the desire to be in the world and live in the world decreases because you're lost in the bliss that's constantly with you inside. And that bliss develops a little later than that, what the part you're talking about, which is after that body you're talking about becomes more mature and aware, then the bliss starts settling in on it, so that it's a full-time guide saying, not this, not that, don't fuck around with that. It's just stay where you are in your own presence as the observer, and you expand that observer to be everything. Expand it to be everything just by being quiet, because being quiet takes you out of objects more easily. And when you're taken out of objects, you can become the field of sentience around you and within you. And that's a whole different dimension of existence. And it's the one where real happiness happens. And it's there prior to full realization of all of these things. So it's a sign that you're messing around at a very important part for meditators to deal with. And it's a sign of pretty good advancement.
Thanks, Edgy. Last thing I just wanted, I get a tidbit of that bliss, but then when I'm out of the meditation, my conscious mind in the mundane world is so stubborn, it'll just try to say, no, man, I got you back. That's how strong the resistance is to go to somewhere that I actually want to be.
Well, you see, there are 7 billion people in the world. And at any one time, there may be 5 or 10 fully realized beings, according to Robert. Actually, he said you can count them on one hand, but that was a long time ago, so there are a lot more people on Earth since then. He'd said there were only less than 5 deeply enlightened individuals in the world. One of them was a woman, I forgot who it was. So, I think even more important is to find a place where you feel humility while all of these big experiences are going on, because the big experiences will be pushing you to feel like you're God and announce yourself to the world that you have all of these powers. But what he's saying is shut up, don't talk to other people about it, wait. You've got years yet of polishing the mirror before you are ready to be a full-time teacher. That doesn't mean you have to keep your mouth shut all the time. I mean, there's not a lot of people that are ready to be enlightened. But just relax and be yourself. Keep quiet. Keep your mind inside yourself. Look around inside your body. What do you feel? What do you see? And when you've done that for a while, just shut up altogether and sit in emptiness and get a deeper and deeper awareness of emptiness throughout your whole life. Emptier and emptier and emptier. But the strange thing is, what is a strange thing? The strange thing is that this state, this elevated state, is good for nothing in the world. It's less than dog shit, unless you're in some place where dog shit is worshipped. But where you're going, if you're truly into this, which is to study yourself under all circumstances, especially meditation, because you're learning how to be in the universe, as opposed to being a small puppet in the universe. But not as a causal agent, but as one who observes it and identifies with it, becomes one with it. Now that was a long, long answer. Did it help?
Yes, thank you, Ed. Um, Nobody else can do it, but I really appreciate your time and willingness to help help us. Thank you.
Our cat is on the top of a large cabinet eating an ivy, and Krima is going up there to rescue the plant. Aren't you, Krima?
I'm trying, yes.
You're trying to, but you
Trying
got
to get
trapped
up.
by the chair. Okay. All right. She voluntarily jumped down onto the ground. Not Krima, but
Not me. Come on,
Ella,
come here.
our female cat, Ella. Can you show people Ella?
Sure.
Ella is a beautiful, beautiful Siamese.
She sure
Amazing,
is.
amazing. And very energetic, very people oriented. She runs around the house like crazy. And yesterday, or the day before yesterday, ran so hard she bashed into my head.
Well, she bashed into your nose too.
That too, that was a separate time. So I have to watch myself when I'm in meditation now, or sleeping, I guess, because my alarm system is walking around the house, waiting to be tripped. Are there any other questions? Okay. Feel yourself. Just shut up. Don't wait for wisdom. Just sort of close your eyes and feel like you're sinking into yourself, even though you're already fully in yourself. There's a sinking sensation that you can feel, which drops you into the totality of your body rather than just the upper part that most people live in. Most people aren't aware of their lower body at all. I mean, in a daily, constant way, just when they get horny of other kinds of special situations. But when you observe yourself from the inside, you'll find a sentient body, which is like a secondary body inside the human body. And you, as the observer, are observing both. And not only is experiencing both, but you're also experiencing the world at the same time. And the world plays such a large part in almost everybody's life, and their devotion and their dedication to life diverts them from the stillness of godliness, of divinity, and of that utterly blissful and powerful hand of God that sort of comes into your thorax and cups your heart, and you feel total rest and peace. And even the data from the outside doesn't affect you much. Matter of fact, most of the time it settles down when you start to meditate. Not always, but that's been my experience. The world sort of goes into quiescence with you. And a couple of times I mentioned going to Satsang in New York with Philip Geppo, and how noisy the meditators were. But after I got to know him, which was many years later, he was a genuinely nice guy, chummy. And we talked for hours about our spiritual experiences and our teacher, and that's about it. I don't know if he's still alive or not. That was a long time ago we talked. But you can, in a way, it's understandable why the people that were doing this in India, developing this spiritual understanding in the north of India, in the Himalayas, which included not only India, but other countries around there at the time. The common attitude is, you give the world up. The world that you see, you give it up. And then you start investigating yourself. You watch how the world affects you. You watch how thoughts affect you. You watch how watching affects you. And as in a sense, you're busier now as a spiritual student, studying yourself in the world, than before, when you were more greedy and just wanted things in the world. Yeah, there were a lot of things that people want, but it's still a lot less complicated than having 3 or 4 major themes within you that compete for attention. Spiritual practice is simple. Enlightenment is difficult. it's hard to come by. I know that when I started, I was dead sure I was going to be enlightened before I was 27. But during my life, I had so many enlightenment experiences that I can't remember any of them very well. So am I enlightened? I don't know. Robert's dead, so I don't have a teacher around to tell me, and even if he was around, he wouldn't tell me. He'd want me to keep going as if I were not of that mindset. And actually, I'm very little interested in what the spiritual teachings are. I did all that. I did all of that for 60 years. All of the different yogis, not all of them that are out there, but some of the bigger branches. And I practiced hatha yoga for a time, but it just seemed to be a waste of time. I wasn't feeling anything except healthier. But we all feel it. We all feel it. We all feel that there's something missing in ourselves, and we're determined to find it. And often we get caught up in these different spiritual disciplines, as if they're going to take us to that understanding more quickly. But what happens is that we simplify our life when we live like a hermit and practice a lot of meditation, doing nothing except being inside of ourselves. And what we've done is reduce the world to a much smaller place than it was when we're 20. When we're, well, oh, look at all that. Wow, let's do that, let's do that, let's do that. Because at this time, you're spiritually an adult. You know you have to focus. You know you can't just drift and read more books that'll tell you what it's all about. Because you won't be able to believe the books until you have it as your own experience. And you won't have it as your own experience till you drop those books, because the mind is not going to give you the same experience that Muktananda had, or the same that somebody else had. It won't describe it the same way, but it'll be different. It'll be different because you are constructed different than most of those teachers. The difference is immeasurable in terms of how easy or difficult it is to practice. If you are meant to be enlightened, it'll happen at its own pace when you're ready for it. And I know that just saying that is going to make you question whether you're ready for it. Am I ready for it yet? Or am I ready to turn towards adult practices? Am I ready? Am I really ready? By the time real enlightenment comes around, that question will not be asked. It'll have dropped away for some time before that. As a matter of fact, Most of the teachers I know don't care to even use the term enlightenment, because that's a term from the past that burdens the whole path. Everybody's interested in enlightenment and freedom or certain things like that that are kind of abstract. But I know, for example, at the end of his life, Robert just kept shouting, freedom, freedom. And he was 69, was enlightened for 55 of those years. So at the end of 55 years, he was still talking about freedom. He hadn't surpassed it. Everything is about you becoming more aware of you, not of someone else, not of people in your life, a family, a girlfriend or boyfriend, a husband or wife, the sheriff, your boss at work. None of these things really matter to you. And after a while, they won't matter to you. And anything that happens to you in these realms, you'll pay them no heed. Now they drive you wild with sort of bewilderment as to what's going on. But all of that drops away, and you become more and more ordinary on the outside, and more, how would I say, alive in consciousness. You're able to explore consciousness in ways that other people who haven't gone into consciousness can do. And you have to discover for yourself what those ways are, because most of them are acquired just by tricks. They're taught tricks by teachers who over years develop certain ways to get to different kinds of experiences. And they run you through these experiences because they think that's important to teach the experiences they had. But stop reading as much as you've been reading. What you're trying to find cannot be found in a book. The best thing that can be done is reading a book and you hear something that speaks to you in a deep way, and it leads you to go to somewhere for a deeper awakening than you're aware of right now in the present. I guess most teachers would agree, if they were discussing awakening and what it was like post-awakening, that most of them would agree on the same things. The difficulty is it's such a new area. It's not like automobiles and airplanes and what a 1950 Stutz can do compared with a 2024 Ford Fairlane, if they still make those. Here, in spirituality, you only have one time, and that's the present time. That's in your existence now. You learn to really not worry about the past or to concern yourself with the future, but concern yourself only with the now. The more you're concerned only with the now, the more free you get, because when you're thinking in terms of what books are talking about, the thinking becomes endless. The thought processes become confused. And you choke up, and it makes it difficult for the energies and for any real enlightenment to flow. As a kind of I'll drop that. Learn to, if you can, love yourself as much as possible. And therefore, after that, it's not so difficult to explore yourself endlessly, because you become a fascinating object of your own existence. Fall in love with yourself. Forget the girl next door. Forget falling in love with the guru. Or with a female Swami. As you may notice, spiritual life in most ashram settings is extremely stressful, because everything is pounding at you to get rid of who you really think you are in order to find out who you really are. And there's all kinds of nasty things going on. Not meaning just in the moral sense, but nasty things that could take you away from doing anything. Disappointments. Disappointments are a heavy, 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 heavy part of spirituality. Because everything you had thought that was good and enlightened is demonstrated not to be good for you. What's good for you really is something that at first does not appear to be good to you. It's becoming aware of yourself on the inside by sitting quietly with half-closed eyes in a silent room, day after day, week after week, year after year. And finding that your greatest happiness comes, surprisingly, when you're at home doing nothing, or when you're out for a walk, not planning on doing anything. Suddenly it hits you. The magnificence of your own existence. And by that I don't mean some sort of book-style grandiosity, but there's such tremendous power with being in your own presence. And the closest thing is with being next to a powerful person, but that powerful person generally is so self-absorbed that they can't really help you. And the gurus that are around are world recognized and famous, and you think, that they would value themselves highly. But in fact, they're very simple people. All the complexity goes out except when it comes to interpreting Dharma, because the deeper you go into spirituality, the more you realize going into that spirituality. The slower are your responses, but the more accurate they are too. People will be astounded sometimes by your reactions to certain things. You'll be astounded by them too. But it all becomes clear later on. But something else will happen is not clear. Over the years, though, there's less and less that attracts your attention. There's less and less that is interested in you. If I were to try to get a high-level job now in any of my past positions, which were basically academic and economic based, no one would take me. I'd make a damn good economist too. But I'd probably give up the work in 3 weeks, saying that's enough of that. People know that. People know that my heart wouldn't be in the work. But the thing is, for most people, their heart is not in their work. Oh, that's somebody on Karema's phone.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up. Any other questions? Didn't I bore you enough yet? Somebody asked me a question that, well, I can give an answer that's so boring, I will put us all to sleep.
My question is like, why are we? Why do we exist? What is it? A desire body? Do we get, supposedly the last thing to overcome is desire. And somehow, like Robert was saying, we just keep doing this again until we start to deal with self-awareness. The only reason and the only gift of being born in human form, supposedly, it is only from that gift that we can seek self-awareness. And that's a treasure, that the greatest treasure, the greatest gift. But I've often said, I don't feel anything. My formal meditation is abysmal, but my takeaway from you is exquisite. It allows me to live in the mundane world and to put the bullshit down, to simply walk away from it, to simply let it go. I still have 1,000 pages of Robert to read. His satsangs were so exquisite, so extraordinary. I can understand how you attained with him because the simplest thing to simply, and yet to try to understand something so simple as no self, no others, only one appearing as many, and that we are God. We are the manifestation of God's love. God incarnate. I am is so simple. Nisargadatta kept drilling it into us that it's maybe so simply is I is God and am is God incarnate. It is the coin of the realm. It is perfection. So I know the lie of the land. I know the words. I know that, but I seem that I have so many more laps on the track, but I come here because I can't get here fast enough. And because if you were to come anytime and simply be with us and and just ask us what we're experiencing, because the experience is the succinctly all that there is and all that there ever is in the now moment, which is all that there ever is. So I try to do that. I simply treat it as a mosh pit, fall back into it, the love from the Sangha, the love from you. And I love it. My takeaway and what you did again today is extraordinary. I love you.
I love you too. Come back again, we'll put you on the payroll. You'll be at the docent at the door.
I love you, Edgy. Really, really. I
The rest of us will study how to fuck up sitting and disturb everybody around us so they learn how to overcome distractions. How's that? You can become a complete asshole and destroy everybody's peace around you. And if they can hold on to that peace while they're living anywhere near you, what a shock to your system that would bring. Instant enlightenment. Just kidding. Let me see. I'll put my glasses on. Sarah, you have a question. You've been a faithful follower for a long time.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for being here. I don't have a question. I just have a comment on the ability to let go of everything while I'm here. The feeling of there's nothing. I don't know how to explain it. But I mostly run around in my head and doing things and whatever. But when I sit in this kind of meditation, it's just the calmest, most blessed feeling. There's nothing.
You're lucky. You're lucky you know me. Boy, are you lucky.
I'm joking. I am lucky.
BJ, good seeing you again. You gained weight and you're older.
I'm older. Um, and I thought it's 5 p.m. So
What?
Eastern. I thought the Satsanga is at 5 Eastern. So I joined late.
How have you been?
Not bad. Trying to find this my steps.
Trying to find your what?
My steps.
You lost your steps?
Yeah, long back. So I'm still trying to find it back. Um, yeah.
Give it
That's
up.
why I come here.
Give it up. Forget about it. Who cares?
Yeah.
BJ always has these great pictures in the background. They only change about once a year now, or every 2 years now. They used to change more often. Chris, do you have any question?
No question.
Bernadette, any questions?
Oh, no.
What's it like living with your nincompoop husband?
Well, it's like that thing you said where you sit next to somebody and you can stay inside yourself even though the distraction is there. No, I'm kidding.
Because there's
It's good.
nobody there.
I couldn't hear. What?
No, it's good.
I saw a cartoon today. It was really great. It was this teacher, and he's talking to his students, and he says, religion, spirituality, forget all that. Just don't be a dick.
Hmm.
I've seen similar like that, but that's a very good teaching.
Well, that was good for me today because there's all this teaching, but it's really freaking simple. Don't be a dick.
Or if you're going to be a dick, be a huge dick. Blast it away. Go for
Yes. There's no try. There's dick or not dick.
it. Unless you're Jane, of course.
Of course. Then you're a Jane or not a Jane.
Hmm.
Is that Danny? Is that the name? Your name?
I changed my name here because I think it's difficult to read for you or for someone else.
Do you have anything to ask or say
Uh,
or question or
well,
be?
I would like to say about my experience on the satsang or in meditation. Not immediately, but about 20, 30 minutes, sometimes 40 minutes. My body becomes like transparent. I feel of I like expanding somewhere here, and body like transparent. Thoughts very light, and thoughts don't produces negative feelings, strong negative feelings. So it's very calm, happy, pleasant state. But in life, in casual situations, everyday situations, I can't say that I feel this way. I just normal person. I reacting. I have an anger or some many kind of negative feelings, which are not strong now as they was several years ago maybe, but I still feel all this stuff in everyday life, and I would want to feel this transparency, this pleasant silence, like constantly. I don't know. Is it possible or not?
Oh, it definitely is, and you're definitely on your way. How long have you been practicing?
Um uh, I I've read a lot of different books. So if to take the whole, maybe 11 years, maybe 12. So I started from Carlos Castaneda books. It's I would now I would not call it spiritual books.
Right.
It is this is another path, another road. I would say.
I know.
and later just maybe I start to be maybe more like kinder in everyday life, and this helps. This like forgiveness and such things. This helps me to clear my mind from hard feelings and hard remembrances. So.
You're doing all right. Do you feel that too? Or you feel more
Yes,
want
uh, I I think so, but again, in everyday life, I normal person. I have anger and so on. I have all negative feelings. Maybe they weaker now, but they still here.
Have you read what is his name? What Nisargadatta?
Yes, but I don't understand him.
Good. Keep going reading him. Keep going. He's a difficult guy, but there's a reason for it. He's a difficult path, but he's brilliant. He's brilliant. His observations are right on. They don't always help anybody, but he's brilliant. It's nice listening to him. He just talks and talks and talks and talks your head off, and you're in space and right next to God, right behind you or in front of you. I recommend that for everybody, is to read Nisargadatta as opposed to listening to me or reading Robert.
Uh,
Nisargadatta was a kid. I mean, he knew how to create a scene with words, with his presence and so forth. If you've ever seen videos of him,
I saw some, but it is what he is saying so far from, for example, from my everyday life. It is just beyond everything.
yes, that's why he is so good to study, because it takes forever to go beyond where he is in his talks. Where he is not encapsulated in his talks. Where he talks to is trying to get people to be in the state he is in most of the time. So you get the feel of Nisargadatta as opposed to what he said. You just feel at home when you hear him talking. Keep reading him if you're drawn to Nisargadatta. Okay. Anybody else? Sarah, do you want a second stab at it?
No, I'm happy with one. Thank you, Ed.
One stab will do you. Okay. I love you all. I'll see you next week, I hope, at 2:00. And maybe VJ will start loosening up again and be his old self, which is talking all the time and not caring whether anybody understood him or not. I'm just kidding. Just pulling your leg. Take care, everybody. I love you. Bye.